Hello, talking today about my LT Wright Genesis fixed blade bushcraft knife. I've had this for a while now. It's been pretty much my only bushcraft knife I use. The more has sort of fallen to the wayside because this is quite a nice piece. What do you get here? You get just over 4 inches of blade, Scandinavian ground A2 tool steel. You get a micarta handle that's been bead blasted, and it's in sort of a earthy kind of dark brown colour. You get some brass and steel pins attaching the handle to the tang of the blade, which is full. And you get a nice generous lanyard hole, which I don't really use. So let's start with the blade. The blade is one of the sharper knives I've ever had the pleasure of using. It comes with a complete zero scanty grind, so there isn't a micro bevel on that. That is the complete bevel from there to there. So it makes for a very fine edge and somewhat of a delicate edge. Well, at least it would be if not for this steel being exceptionally well heat treated. I've done some pretty gnarly baton work and some pretty average carving because I'm not the best carver in the world, and all I've ever had to do with this edge is strop it on a leather strop. And I've had this knife for about 9 months now, maybe even a bit longer. So a real testament to how good this edge is. The blade length is suitable for sort of most small wood and most camp tasks. When you get to wood that's a little bit wider, sort of more than I guess the 4-inch diameter, you really start, as you can see when I show you some batoning, you really start having to make the most of whatever's sticking out the end. If you're accurate enough with your baton, you'll be fine, but it's really probably not the same as having like a nice big knife, or you know what, even better, an axe to do your wood splitting, but it'll do the job. It carves wood exceptionally well. There's a few different angles and ways you can do it thanks to the handle, but the blade has really held up quite well against all the Australian hardwoods that I've put it up against. It probably still shaves, I'd imagine. Yeah, it's sort of got that, it's got that pretty good working edge where it'll pop off a few hairs, but just not a complete endless strip of them. That doesn't last too long, an edge that sharp with an absolute zero scanty grind. The A2 steel is held up pretty well rust resistance wise as well. I do keep this blade oiled, or at least covered with WD-40 when I'm not using it, but I haven't particularly fussed over it too much. All I do mainly is when I come in after using it for a while, I just strop it, and that's usually it. So there's probably some discoloration since I've had it, but it's yeah, done very well indeed. It's got a very nice thick tip. The tip is super strong. You can really pry and wedge with this tip. Even though it's a complete zero scanty grind, it's really quite wide until right at the end of the tip, so very good utility edge. And I love the blade shape, that spear shaped blade with the points sort of being in the middle of the knife altogether. Lets you sort of drill and work away, stuff like that as well. Very good, nice, fun knife to use. And that's also helped by the fantastic handle. I always go on about handle ergonomics. I don't think knives should really ever give you too much direction on how to hold them. It should just sort of come quite naturally and fit into most hands, and this really does that. It's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's got enough of a guard to keep you from flying up on the blade, but that's really about it. Straight handle, pretty much round. Got a couple of these little cut out bits here for resting your thumbs, for doing a couple of different cuts like you'll see me doing. Very, very just simple, versatile, no frills handle. Very, very happy with that too. The micarta always seems to be nice and warm to the touch, and it is really, really strong. You can hit this with a baton, and I haven't had any issues at all with it cracking or chipping or anything like that. It's super strong material. The butt of the knife, just nice and round, so you're not going to be hammering any tent pegs in with it or anything like that, but it really does sit quite comfortably in the hand if you're sort of choking back a bit too, so really happy with the handle. The knife came brilliantly fit and finished from LT Wright, and they were a really good company to deal with. You talk mostly to LT's wife, Elaine, I think, and yeah, really, really nice people. Just really, really strongly recommend buying from them. The leather sheath it comes with is a they use the same company for all their sheaths. I can't remember its name, but it's a pretty good quality sheath. The leather seems to be a little bit dry and a little less sort of thick and ultra high oily quality than you'd get in like a custom piece, but for what you get, for about $150, you get a really good knife made of really good steel. It's not a powder steel or a super steel or anything like that, it's just a good tool steel, but for this job it's just perfect. I'd love to see them use 3V or something like that, but you know, that'd probably double the price almost for such a thick slab, because it is quite a thick knife. And that sort of brings me to what it's not as good at, which is food prep. This knife will cut food, of course, it's a knife, it cuts, but the grind is a little bit too thick to do those slicing cuts. I'll just roll in some footage of me. It does go through tomatoes quite well, and carrots and all that sort of stuff that you might be using to make campside sandwiches and things, but just when it comes to sort of finer, more delicate food prep work, it's a little bit clumsy, a little bit on the clumsy side, or at least I am a little bit clumsy using it. But it's really pretty much a woodworking knife, so I mean, any other success in other fields is just bonus, really. And for a woodworking knife, and just for an enjoyable camp carving, sitting around the fire, just looking at, holding it, feeling it, I really could recommend it higher. LT has really expanded his range lately, but he does still make the Genesis and the GNS, which is sort of a bit more of a slender model. But I don't think these are going anywhere anytime soon. And if you can get one in A2, I think they sort of seem to vary between O1 and A2 for their knife steels for these bushcraft knives. If you can get one in A2, I'd really, really recommend it. Great steel, great knife, and done really, really well over the long term. Thanks for watching, dudes. See you later.